Well, good morning. This is Julie Mansell from Gem Ministries International, and this is Day in the Life of a Normal Christian again. It's been a few days since I did one, so I thought I'd come on and do a live and just say what's been happening in my life as a minister of the Word and a mum and a wife and a worker, businesswoman, and just share what God is sharing with me in everyday living. The week has been good. I've had some successful things happening. I've been offered a contract for a 4-month job in Hamilton in our next town, which is great because that solves our finances for a few months, and God is great. We have a business here running the mill. We process alpaca fleeces into knitting yarn, and although it does pay some money, it doesn't pay sufficient for us to survive as a family. So we were getting to a stage where it was like there was very little customer work in, and I prayed to God and said, God, what is next? Because you are the provider of everything that I need. You are the one that brings in the finances to pay our daily need. The Lord's Prayer, I heard someone preaching this morning, the Lord's Prayer says, give us this day our daily bread. And quite often, and this is my personality, we want to see that we've got future resources provided for, but God is asking us to trust Him and be faithful in knowing that we have enough for today. So for today we have food, for today there is no creditors at our door, and God is providing all our needs according to His riches in glory. Scripture says, sufficient for the day. So get into that situation where you are so dependent on God that you have the faith to know that He is going to come through and provide your needs when all things are seemingly against that happening in the natural. And those are the situations that the children of Israel found themselves in many times, and they cried out to God and said, God, help us. And God did. He always helped them, even with the covenant that they had with Him, which was far, far inferior to the one that we have. So how much more, children of light, under the new covenant, will our God provide all our needs? And so it's a question of how much faith we have in Him to actually do that for us on a daily basis, even if it means that we get given some free bread or some free whatever from some unexpected source. That is God's way of providing for each and one of every one of our needs. So this week has been busy with an interview and then waiting to hear back and then being told that they're going to make me an offer, and I start a week on Monday, so that's in about 9 days' time. So now we have that transition period of moving from working as self-employed in the mill, getting all the customers worked through in this next 9 days, and preparing to go back into the workforce for 4 months. So there is a little bit of trepidation of how that's going to work out. So I'm just being honest and truthful with you as I go into a new situation, new environment, and have to dust off those accounting skills that I have got in there. And I know that God will show me what I need to do and how I need to do it. So Stephen, my pastor, who I support in Uganda, has had COVID, as some of you know from the post on the page, and he is doing well. He's moving out of the hospital into a 2-week isolation facility, and obviously that has to be paid for as well. So there's financial needs there that need to be provided for. So God uses people to provide for us financially, and sometimes if there is no willing people, things happen miraculously, miracles happen to provide for us. But whatever the situation, however God uses it, then it is always there, whether it is from somebody just blessing you with a few thousand shillings or some food or whatever that might be, some work. It's a question of us looking and expecting and experiencing and having the expectation that God is going to do it. He is going to come through. And He is not going to leave us without the basics that we need. And I know that can be extremely hard when you're starving and you have no food and you have no visual sight for where your resources are going to come from. And although I'm not been in a situation of being starving, I have too much weight on to be starving, but I do know what it's like to be in such financial strife that you don't know which way to turn, and everybody's circumstances is different, and I appreciate that many people across in Uganda and Kenya and other African countries simply have no resources to actually help them in the natural, and that's when the miraculous power of God comes into play. And we need to encourage ourselves and encourage one another that God will come in regardless of how bad the situation might seem. And the worst thing that can possibly happen to a believer, we feel from our natural standpoint, is that they die. But in reality, even that's not bad, because they're at home in glory with the Lord. There's a scripture, I can't just remember where it is, it's as precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his servant. And we think that's, oh, it's precious, he's bringing them back home. But that word precious means God is annoyed and upset when one of his saints come home before their time, because he has a plan and a purpose for every one of us to do. And he wants that to be fulfilled in our lives and on this planet. And the enemy wants to destroy everything that we're trying to do. So if somebody goes home before their time, that is a disappointment for God. So we need to do all that we can in our circle of influence to encourage one another, to behave with integrity towards one another in all the areas of our lives and our ministry. So we've gone on for a little bit longer than I normally like to do on these Day in the Life sessions. So that's my summary of what life's like here. New Zealand is good as far as COVID-19 goes. We have just an odd case in isolation. I don't think a few cases come in. Our borders are pretty much closed. We're pretty much locked down in our whole country, even though we're free to move around wherever we like. We're not free to leave the country. So we kind of locked down, but in a better way than a lot of people are. So bless you heaps. I hope this encouraged you. This is Julie Mansell from Gem Ministries International, Day in the Life of a Normal Christian. Bye for now.